Kent Ticaret ve Sanayi Odası olarak bu akşam düzenlediğimiz seminerimize katıldığınız için hepinize teşekkür ederiz. Öncelikle sizlere Kürşad Bey'i takdim etmek istiyorum. Birçoğunuzun yakından tanıdığı gibi Kürşad Bey, marketing, danışma konusunda özellikle natural stone, mermer konusunda bir uzman. Pek çok kitapları var, kısmı önünüzde zaten. Kendisi bu akşam natural stone marketing, Amerikan pazarındaki marketing üzerine bir seminer de bize aydınlatıcı bilgiler verecek. Kürşad Bey sizce uygun mudur? Herkes çok kısaca bir kendisinden bir cümleyle bahsetse, ismen belki şirket adına bir sizden başlayabilir miyiz? Daha sonra da
Gülay Avurdu, Lifestyle Brand'den temsilen buradayız. 16 senedir iş dünyasındayım, işletme mezunuyum ama bu sektör benim için yeni. Eminim bu konferansta, bu seminerde benim için çok faydalı olacak. Teşekkürler.
Ben de Malik Avundu. Eşimle beraber geldik. Yaklaşık 3 ay önce Lifestyle Brand'dan sorumlu olmak üzere. Satış, pazarlaması, depolaması, aslında her şeyinden sorumluyuz şu anda. Brand taşı. Umarım hepimize çok faydalı olur.
Hepinize iyi akşamlar. Stonemark şirketinin sahibi olarak Simon Katan. 6 senedir Amerika'da bu doğal taş, çoğunlukla Türkiye'den değişik firmalardan malları kazanıyor. Bütün Amerika'da. Mesajınızı aldım. İlk kafayı yedim. Tabii ki faydalı olacağını eminim.
Ben Vicdan Hasan, Aktu firmasında çalışıyorum. Ünvanım Procurement Manager. Aynı zamanda Sirkar Madencilik bizim kardeş firmamızdır. Dünyanın her tarafından taş ithal ediyoruz. Warehouse'umuz Bridgeport, Connecticut'ta. Aynı zamanda San Francisco'da da yerimiz var.
Ben YORK Devecioglu. Master öğrencisiyim. Burada mermer pazarı çok yükselen ve hareketli bir sektör. O yüzden bu seminerin bana çok büyük katkısı olacağına inanıyorum. O yüzden buradayım. İnşallah devamında iyi bir seminer olur.
Özcan Evernos. 14 seneden beri buradayım. İnşaat şirketi sahibiyim ve aynı zamanda ithalat yapıyorum taş üzerine. Genellikle proje bazında da çalışmalarımız oluyor. Toptan olarak da satışlar yapıyoruz. Her zaman köşetemler için fırsat.
Merhabalar, iyi akşamlar. İsmim Reşat Uğur Karacan. New York Ticaret Ateşeli'nde çalışmaktayım. Kürşad Bey'in ilk seminerleri gayet faydalı olmuştu. Yaklaşık 6 ay kadar önce sanırım. Bu da ikinci serisi. Bunda çok faydalı olacağını düşünüyorum.
Welcome to our seminar, Strategic Natural Stone Marketing Management Certificate, which is the second updated version of the 7 ways to profitable direct marketing for natural stone products, which we actually presented last year. I'm with a marvelous marketing company. I'm a direct marketing consultant and natural stone marketing professional, Hasan Kursad Devecioglu. And I've been in this business about 10 years. I got my education in direct marketing, and I have experience in natural stone marketing. So now we're going to talk about natural stone materials, marble, limestone, travertine, granite materials, how we can market them, how we can sell them better. We're not going to talk about design, but we're going to talk about sales and marketing, what type of marketing methods that we can use, how we can use direct marketing, how we can use sales more efficiently, how we can do market research. That's what we're going to talk about. I'd like to start with our presentation outline. We have 4 chapters, and each chapter is different part of our seminar. First, we're going to take a look at the construction market, and we're going to talk about importation figures, natural stone industry.
And we'll talk about what type of problems that we see in natural stone industry in the United States, what type of mistakes have been made. And we're going to talk about 7 ways to make more money in marketing in natural stone materials. let's start with construction market. This is chapter 1. Construction industry and natural stone industry, they are very close to each other. And construction figures are really important figures for us as natural stone professionals. We need to know what is really going on in the construction market. Therefore, we have this index. It's called Dodge Index. McGraw-Hill Company, McGraw-Hill Construction Research Company make this index. The first one in top, it is the last year's index. And the second one in bottom, it is this year's index. When we look at last year's index, you can see it's going up. There is a rise on the index. However, when we look at this year's, it's going down. This index shows us what type of new construction are starting. So the higher is the index, the more new constructions are starting in the United States. That's what it means. So it's declining this year. I'm sure you are also following this in news. So that's something that we need to be aware of, and also some builders are really hurt because of this development. This is one side of natural stone materials and their market. The other side is renovations. Other than this, there are also renovations going on. You already made the building, but you might want to do some renovations. You might want to make it more beautiful or more luxurious. Then you might want to do renovations. There's also another market for natural stone materials, not only new constructions but also renovations. Therefore, we need to take a look at the importation figures. Most of the natural stone materials, they are imported from other countries. The reason is that labor cost is so high in the United States. There are some raw material in the United States. There are some factories, but the cost is so high, so that they import the materials from different countries. Importation statistics is the healthiest way to find out what is the trend in the natural stone industry for imported materials. When we look at it, first on the left it shows us marble materials, and the one in the middle it shows us travertine materials, and the one on the right it shows granite materials. So these are the figures based on first half of 2006. So when we compare this based on first half of 2005, it's going up. For instance, for marble materials, it's 13.5%. It's higher than previous year. For travertine materials, it's higher than last year's for 18.7%. For granite materials, it is 26.4%. For marble materials, Italy, Spain, and China, these are leading countries. And for travertine, Turkey is leading country. It's 72% of the market share. And Mexico is following Turkey and Italy. For granite materials, Brazil, Italy, and China. These are the main players of the natural stone market in the United States. So even though construction is declining in the US, new constructions are declining in the US, the statistics shows us that the importation figures, they are going up. So this is good news for all of us as natural stone professionals. So it's a good sign. There is still demand for natural stone materials. In fact, it's growing. And also main countries like Italy, Turkey, Brazil, these are the main players for this market. If there is no Italy, there is no Turkey or Brazil, there will be a different market for all of us. But here they are, so that's how it looks. And natural stone industry review. Most of the time, natural stone professionals and business people, they ask me how big is the market, how many companies in the United States operate in, what is the size of the natural stone industry, what is the risk level in the industry, how many people are employed, and if there is any raw material to process in the United States. That's what they ask me most of the time. So we'll find the answers of these questions. In this map, we can see there are different regions, and in different regions there are total number of companies. Total, there are 29,000 companies operating in natural stone industry. The source is Dun & Bradstreet Industry Report. When we look at this map, the highest amount is, as you can see, in southeast area. 7,000 companies are operating over there, and most of them in Florida state. And the second one is southwest. There are more than 5,000 companies operating, and most of them in California state. And when we look at South Central, there are 3,900 companies, and most of them situated in Texas state. so when we look at this map overall, we can see the demand, where are those most of the companies are located. Most of them in southern states, southeast, south central, and southwest states. There are also natural stone companies operating in different industries in also different regions. Mid-Atlantic, 4,000 companies. Northeast, there are 2,500 companies. North Central, there are 4,000 companies. And Northwest, there are more than 1,000 companies. So it shows us where are most of these natural stone companies are located. Another question is that if there is any raw material in the United States, if there is any block, if there is any quarry, if they can get any block to process. There is a quarry in Texas for travertine material. There is in Wisconsin, there is a granite quarry. There is also in South Dakota, there is also Dakota granite quarry. In Indiana, there is limestone quarry. We also marked this map for the factories. Where are they located? For instance, in Vermont, there is a quarry for green marble, and there is also a factory over there. In Georgia, there is a Georgia white marble. There is a factory there. In Tennessee, there is Tennessee pink marble, which is very popular in Manhattan buildings. There is a quarry and a factory. And in New Mexico, there is also a travertine factory over there. So there are 29,000 companies, and in comparison to last year, there is also the number is also rising. So it shows also the supply is also increasing based on the demand. And other figures, Natural Stone Industry Review. There are totally 29,000 companies, more than 29,000 companies. 198,000 people are employed. And average number of employees per establishment is 7. And total sales in the industry is $30 billion. This shows us the size, how many people in working in natural stone industry. It's good to have this information all the time. 30 billion. 30 billion 700.
There was a misprint on the notes.
When we go back, these local materials, these local factories, most of them they work on commercial projects. Commercial projects, buildings, monuments, cemetery, headstones, tombstone, family memorials, commercial projects. Most of them, that's how they do. That's how they use this. Yes, the laborship cost is high, but they are still using these materials in the country, other than imported materials that we've been talking about. And when we go on, we can take a look at the risk level of natural stone companies. How risky to do business with natural stone companies in the United States? Based on Dun & Bradstreet, 48% companies are low risk, 32% of the companies are mid-risk companies, and 20% of them high-risk companies. So generally, industry looks healthy and it is good to do business. However, it's always good to check the credit of the customer to make sure who you are dealing with, how is their status in terms of financially. You can also use sales insurance to make sure that you can get your receivables in case your customer, even though they might have a good credit, but if they have some sort of difficulty, you can still get paid from the sales insurance company. That is also a professional thing to do. And we're going to talk about marketing problems of natural stone companies, what type of problems they have. These are main problems that I've observed. And strategic plan. The main planning is also many new companies, startup companies, and also some Turkish companies. We have some problem. Strategic planning. Who are you gonna sell to? You're gonna sell to architects. You're gonna sell to wholesalers. You're gonna sell to homeowners. These are all different markets, and they have different wants, different needs. So, in order for you to approach this market effectively, you need to decide what you're gonna do, how you're gonna approach these markets. For instance, if that's homeowners, you need to use different pricing policy, and you might want to use different marketing strategy. If that's for architects, it might be different. There are certain companies focused on just for architect companies or wholesaling. That's perfectly fine, but you need to know where you are going, who you're gonna market to, and how you're gonna market to. That's really important. There's one thing is missing in the market. Another one is excessive and unnecessary competition. That means there are many Me Too companies in the United States, and it's also same for natural stone materials. One company does one thing, and another does the same thing. One company imports beige marble, another one follows the same material. And if you keep copying your competition, you cannot differentiate yourself. I mean, if you cannot differentiate yourself, you cannot increase your profitability, and you might have problem in the marketplace. That is important thing. And if let's say if there is any market, if there is any market leader, it's actually general marketing rule. You never compete with the marketing leader head to head. Instead of that, you differentiate yourself and focus on different parts of customers. This way you can reduce your risk, reduce the impact of competition, and you can increase your sales. That's an important thing. And same thing for strategic planning and excessive competition. It's good, it's important, actually it's essential, it's crucial to make market research in the market, what type of customers in the marketplace. You can make primary research, you can go to the market and you can ask, you can make the research by yourself with the survey, with visiting customers, visiting companies, or you can buy pre-made market research reports that are being sold in the market, or you can ask professionals to get help. Or you can use, if you want to get into certain market, you can use certain established companies as your agent, so that you can be established, you can enter into that marketplace also. Another problem is failing pricing policies. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to have different pricing policies for different customers, for homeowners, for architects, for wholesalers. If you offer same price for same type of customers, then basically you are losing money. You are cutting down your profit. These are different customers, they have different expectations, and the cost level to operate towards these markets are different. So we need to be careful in terms of our pricing, how we're gonna do our pricing policies. And also you can also make a chart, it's called price reaction chart. If your competitors reduce the price, what are you gonna do? You're gonna reduce the price, or you're gonna increase the price? How are you gonna do? You can plan this ahead before it happens, like how you're gonna react if your customers change the price. And based on research, one individual average, they can see 150 different marketing advertising messages during the day. You go out of your home, and then you see billboards, you see newspapers, you see advertising in TV, or you hear advertising in radio. After a while, it becomes a clutter. You hear many different advertising messages, but it's really hard to remember which message is really important for you and what you're gonna do. Same thing for natural stone materials. If you do the same thing your competitor is doing, if you don't differentiate yourself, then you cannot cut the clutter. That's the main thing to do. If we can cut the clutter with our message, with our products and service, then we can differentiate ourselves. Another problem that we see is lack of quality. What quality of material that we're gonna present, supply to our customer. If that's first quality, we need to supply them first quality. If we promise them for second, it has to be second. But whatever promise that we give, we need to keep this promise. And if we break this promise, then it's gonna break the trust, and you might use the customer, and you don't want this happen. So the quality is another problem in the market. Unsatisfactory customer service, answering questions, educating customers for materials, submitting samples. These are also important things, and some companies also missing these important points. Weak and inconsistent marketing communications. You might position yourself as a high-end company, and every time you give a message, you need to follow this position. If you are a high-end company, you need to give that type of message. If you give in your newspaper advertisement, if you give like a lower price value type of supplier message, and if you are giving different message in this type of magazine, let's say, you're gonna make your customers confused. So it's important to give one message. It's important to be consistent in any media that you use. Another problem is missing feedback opportunities. Meaning everything you do with your customers, it's important to get feedback from your customers. Whatever you do, you might sell a product, you might send a sample, you might visit your customers. It is good to get feedback from your customers. How we are doing? What do you think about us? how good we are and what we can do to make this service better. It's always good to get an idea from your customers. And internet is another thing missing in the marketplace. Some companies, they make a website and they never change it for years. Some companies don't use any email. These are things that I see in natural stone industry, unfortunately. But it's important to have a real interactive website, and it's important to use email as a marketing tool. You can also use e-newsletters, electronic newsletters, monthly or weekly, so that you can let your customers know what you are really doing, what you are up to, and what type of materials that you have recently, so that you can keep the communications ongoing, and you can let them know what you are up to. And the environment. Another problem in the marketplace is most of the companies, some of the companies at least, they are not aware of marketplace, what type of customer preferences, what type of change are going on customer preferences. What's really going on? We need to be aware of this. That's the main thing. And we need to talk to our customers. We need to see. We need to follow up industry magazines like Stone Business, or it could be even general business publications, Business Week, Wall Street Journal. You can learn about construction. You can get news about housing. These are important things. So we need to be aware of the environment, and we need to talk to our customers to make sure what's really going on. And the main thing is that being proactive. There is a term called in marketing, it's called marketing myopia. It's being short-sighted and not being aware of the marketplace. And that's something that we don't want to do. We shouldn't have this marketing myopia. We should be proactive, and we should go out to market and see what's really going on. That's an important thing. I was talking about the problems, so we're gonna talk about how we can improve these, how we can improve our natural stone marketing efforts and what we can do better. Before that, I talk about direct marketing process. It's all about test. Whatever you are doing before you launch your entire campaign, you need to test it in a small group of your customers, just to test what they are thinking about your marketing approach. You might use direct mail, you might use email, you might use face-to-face sales force. You need to test everything before you launch your entire campaign. For direct marketing, it starts with identifying your ideal customer. Who is this? Contractor, architect, architect in Connecticut, in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in New Jersey. In New Jersey, what county? So you need to identify what type of customers that you are working with. Who are your ideal customers? And the next step is finding out customers look like your ideal customers. Let's say you work with architects, or you work with wholesale companies. You do wholesaling, and you work with, let's say, retailers. And most of the time you want to focus on retailers in New Jersey area. And you find their needs, what they want. And you might want to find out in different states, you might want to find out customers looks like them in terms of their operations, in terms of their want. That's the next step. Test your marketing communications in a personalized manner. Direct mail, email, catalog, and phone. You might use this media, but you need to test it before you use it. Let's say you want to use it in New Jersey area, for instance. Instead of using entire New Jersey state, you might want to test it in certain counties just to get the response, how it's going to be, what your customer is going to think about it. And based on this response level, you can modify your offer. You can test again, and you need to measure the response again. That's how it is. Basically, this is the step of direct marketing, and we're gonna talk about in detail how we can apply this in our business. 7 ways to profitable direct marketing for natural stone products. We have 7 ways to improve our profitability. First way, analyzing the market and the segment the market in detail. Make research about customers. As I mentioned, there are 2 types of research. One is primary research, other one is secondary research. Primary research, you go out to market and you gather the information by yourself and you analyze it. Secondary research is the research made by others. You get this research information and you work on this based on your product and your marketplace. For instance, for business to business segment, there are construction companies, architects, designers, design showrooms, contractors, wholesalers, installers, fabricators, and retailers. We need to make this type of segmentation before we start anything. So this is important. These segments, it shows these segments are for business to business. Another way, you can also do business to consumers, meaning you can also sell to homeowners. How you can sell to those, that we're going to talk about later. But the first thing is identifying who are in the marketplace. That's the first thing to do. And the second step is, if you plan to supply design centers or homeowners or contractors from your showroom or from your warehouse, you might want to use zip code analysis. You might want to take down these websites, especially this one, for zip code analysis. What happens is that you visit this website, you enter a zip code, and based on the market research that market research company made, you find out what type of customers living in that certain zip code area. So before you get into a certain area, you can find out who are living there, what type of people are they, and how they are spending their money. That's really important to learn for us. And another thing is reading census information. Especially now, this year, U.S. Census Bureau, they improved their operations. You can find out how many people living in certain area. Every single minute they are updating their records, so you can find out the population in certain area or overall in United States, who are living, man or women, what are their ages, how they spend their money, what type of occupations they have, what they do for a living. That's an important thing to know. And if you are selling to homeowners, for the information, women are really important for our market, because 85% of U.S. household is spent by women. So women, they are really, actually they are decision makers. So if you are selling to homeowners, it's important to reach women. Another information I have, 60% of books are bought by women in the United States also. So women, they spend money, they are decision makers at home. And especially if they're gonna use those natural stone materials for kitchen, bedroom, and home, they are true decision makers. So we need to keep this in mind. Another thing that we can find out from census reports, customer types. What type of customers? For instance, there are baby boomers, there are Generation X people, and Generation Y people. These are all different types of consumers, and they have different expectations. For instance, baby boomers they are nowadays retiring, and you might want to offer your natural stone materials to them for them to renovate their houses. And another thing that we can find out from U.S. Census reports, we can find out where really people are moving. We just saw on the map, we just saw how many companies operating in southern states. There are more companies in southern states than northern states. It's the same thing for the population. Population in United States, it is shifting from northeast to southern states. So why we need to know this? If we know where the people are moving, so we can focus our advertising and marketing efforts on that certain geographic area. If we are following, of course, consumers. For business to business, that's also a different story. This map is from U.S. Census Bureau. You can see how many people are living in United States, where are most of the populations are shaded. You can see from the colors. The darker is the color means more people are living in the certain state. So we can see the population where are most of the people are living in terms of their density, in terms of the population. You can get this information from U.S. Census Bureau's website, uscensus.gov. And another thing that I got from U.S. Census, I found out how many people, what is the education level of Americans based on the geographic area, how educated they are, most educated to least educated. I get this information from U.S. Census Bureau. So when you get into these type of databases, you can get this type of interesting information. Most single men, most single women, married couples, where are they mostly located. We can find out all this information from U.S. Census Bureau. So that's really important source for us. We need to keep it in mind. And the third way is determining your target segments. First, we found out what type of players in the marketplace, who are the players, what type of customers in the market, homeowners, for consumers, or architects, wholesalers. That's what we found out. Second step, we got into details with zip code analysis and US Census Bureau information. And third way, we pick our target segments, where we're gonna focus on. The main problem is in the United States marketplace, especially for natural stone materials, most of the companies, they wanna sell to anybody. Anybody they see, they wanna sell natural stone materials. But it's really wrong, actually. Even it's wrong for Walmart. They couldn't even make it, because you need to pick your customers. You need to focus on certain customers. You need to focus your resources. Then you can increase your profitability. Main thing is that if you can't stand for something, if you can't stand for something, if you chase for everything, you cannot stand for anything. That's the problem. So you need to focus on certain customers. Third way is focusing, targeting certain segments. Let's say I have a natural stone company and I focus on retail companies in New Jersey area. That's my target market, and that's where I'm gonna focus. We need to determine our position. What type of company am I gonna be? Am I gonna sell high-end materials? Am I gonna sell low-quality materials or low-cost materials? That's what we need to focus on. We need to establish our positioning and decide how to sell to customers in segments we targeted. Meaning, if you're gonna sell them face-to-face by using your sales force, or if you're gonna use email, or if you're gonna use direct mail, how are you gonna market to them? How are you gonna reach your customers? That's what we need to decide on. This is the third way. And when we look at this, can we sell to every member of the market? As I just mentioned, we cannot. So we need to pick our customers. We cannot sell anybody. We need to find out our customers. We need to focus on certain market segments so that we can increase our profitability and efficiency of our marketing operations. Another question that I got from most of my conversations with business professionals: how the natural stone market is working. I made this chart. It varies from state to state, from market to market, but basically that's how it works. It starts with the quarry. We get the raw material and we process in the factory, and from there, through importers, you supply the market. Or you might use chain discount stores like Home Depot, Lowe's to reach end users, meaning homeowners. If you use importers, you might sell to architects. They might sell to architects. They might sell to construction companies or installers, or they might sell to homeowners directly. Or from the factory, through some sort of projects, you can sell directly to construction companies. They might use certain contractors to finish the job. But this chart shows basically how the market works in the United States. Who is selling to who, and where it's coming from. Fourth way is determining your pricing policy. As I mentioned earlier, one of the problems in the United States natural stone market is pricing policy problem. If we need to have certain pricing policies for certain geographic areas or certain customer groups, and we need to stick with our pricing policy. Another thing is that when you give discount to your customers, you give certain messages. For instance, you are actually encouraging your customer to shop around, and you are encouraging your customer to focus on the price instead of the value that you are providing. And when you give discount, that means they might understand that your regular price is not fair market price. So if they bought before with your regular list price, then probably they pay more than they were supposed to. And another thing is that they say you have a low price material and you increase the price, then they think that you are charging them more. If that's expensive material and if you are reducing the price, meaning you are giving the discount, they might think that there is something wrong with the material. So it's kind of hard to win, but the best thing to do is setting the price right at the first time. First time when you set the price, it has to be right so that you won't have any problem, even though you increase it or decrease it. If you set the price right, you won't have any problem with your customers. Another thing that you can do under the fourth way is preparing your budgets. These are what our messages that we give to our customers. And yeah, the last part here is discounts can be copied by competition, but solid relationships are hard to copy. when you establish a relationship with your customers, it's really hard to copy by your competition. I was talking about budgets. Beginning of fiscal year, however is yours, you might do your sales budget based on square foot or dollars. You might predict how much you are going to sell based on square foot or dollar amount. That's an example. It might be in different formats. That's an example. Materials that we might use, sizes that we might sell, and how much we might sell in terms of square foot. And it goes to dollar, based on dollar sales budget. How much we're gonna sell this? These are our target. When you budget, you are making your target set at the beginning of the year. And based on your sales, you're gonna buy these materials. So you can also make your purchasing budget. You can, if you predict your expenditure, your expense budget, you can go to your pro forma income statement. Meaning, beginning of the fiscal year, you can predict how much money you are going to be able to make, or you're gonna lose. What it's gonna be. So based on these figures, every month you can do management information reports. I put them MIR in short. Every month you can see how much you plan to sell and what happened, actual figure. What happened? How is it? Is it higher? Is it lower? So you can compare the figures, how it is really going on. Another fit way, always be aware of your business environment. Talk to your customers to find out about latest developments in the market. Read publications about business and natural stone industry. These are things I mentioned earlier to be proactive in the marketplace. And I found this news, for instance, is from Wall Street Journal. It is talking about Atlanta, the capital of Georgia state, and it is saying that in the downtown area of Atlanta, there are major construction projects are about to start. So they are going to be able to. They are going to use, most probably, going to use natural stone materials. So there's a great market for natural stone professionals at this moment, because they are in the process of making the projects. Projects are going to be ready soon. They're going to start soon, but before that, they're going to need natural stone materials. So I found this information from Wall Street Journal. That's an example how important it is to follow up publications. Wall Street Journal is not about natural stone industry, but they put this construction news, and it's important for us, for natural stone professionals. This is just an example for it. And sixth way is keeping communications ongoing with your customers, with direct mail, weekly, monthly newsletters, electronic e-newsletters. It's also called e-zine, annual reports, product introduction CDs, fax announcements, annual customer satisfaction surveys to get feedback that I mentioned earlier, thank you cards, and holiday cards. This way, you can also remind your customers that you are there, and also you can keep the communications ongoing. But the problem is that these type of different media, these type of different channels that you're gonna use, how you're gonna use this, when you're gonna use, how you're gonna use. For this, we use this planning chart. It's called strategic media planning. This is an example. On the left, you can see what type of media we're gonna use. You're gonna use Salesforce, magazine, direct mail, telephone, fax, email, ongoing, and whichever you're gonna use, based on the time frame here, you'll know which one you're gonna use. For instance, Salesforce, I'll use this March, April, May. It's gonna be ongoing. There is no end of it. For magazine, I'm gonna use it in the first week of March, or April, first week of April, I'm gonna use the magazine. Ongoing communications, I'll always be in touch with my customers through my Salesforce. So this type of chart is one of my favorite charts that I use. You can make this type of plan, you can put it on your wall, and whenever there is a clutter in your desk, phone calls, you are really busy in your office, you can look at this chart and you can find out, you can remember what you're gonna do, where you're up to, and how you're gonna do. That's a good chart to use. I also recommend you to use this. This slide shows direct mail. Basically, direct mail is a package. It's not only one letter and one envelope. Basically, when you say direct mail, there is outer envelope. There is outer envelope. There is a sales letter. There is a brochure, and there is an inquiry inquiry or there is a request form. So this is a package altogether. There are main things that we need to be careful about. For instance, when your customers receive a direct mail, you have 3 to 5 seconds for you to have your customers open this or throw it in the garbage. So it's important to make your envelope attractive with the color and with the message on it. They open this and they start to read the sales letter, hopefully. And when they are reading this, there are certain things that we need to be careful about. For instance, the message, when you are writing a sales letter, it cannot be just, we are a company, we are operating in New Jersey, and one day if you need natural stone, just give us a call, we are here. This type of approach is not gonna work. What happens is that you need to give them an offer. You call us now, you place an order with us, we're gonna give you free shipping. Or you call us now, and we're gonna offer you free statue, for instance, made out of marble. This type of offers, you need to give them a reason to call you. If you just tell them just who you are and what you are doing, it's not so different than a press release. It's not gonna do any good. You need to give them some sort of incentive, and also if you are writing this type of sales letter, it's important to make expiration date for your offer. It also gives additional urgency on your offer. Another thing is that most of the customers, when they open the sales letter, when they open the envelope and start through the sales letter, most of them, they read PS section first, then beginning of the letter. It's really funny, but it's true. So if you also use PS section, you need to repeat your offer, whatever offer you are making. It might be a discount, or it might be some sort of premium that you are offering to them. So it's also important to use PS section in your CS letter. Seventh way, which is our last way, is always get a feedback from your customers. Customer satisfaction surveys is a must. It's important to get feedback, as I mentioned to you earlier. And what you can ask in your survey when you send them a customer satisfaction survey, you can ask them how you are doing, or how happy they are with your service. But the most popular question that you can ask is that how likely you are going to be referred, how likely they are going to refer you to another customer, another people for your service. How likely you are going to be referred, in other words. That's one of the popular questions in surveys nowadays. So the higher is the selection is better for you. But the important thing is getting feedback, get an idea from your customer, what they are thinking, and how they are seeing your services. Additional tips, you can implement a reward program for loyal and profitable customers. If they keep buying from you, you might give them some sort of maybe, could be a point program, or you can give them certain cashback, or you can give them certain discount in certain time period. Another thing is that if they refer you to another customer, then you can give them some sort of gift to encourage them to keep giving referrals. And last thing is that if you can, buy from your customers. If you are selling to a wholesaler, and if they are, let's say you are selling Turkish materials and your customer is carrying Italian materials, there is nothing wrong with buying from them. Buy from them so that you can have stronger relationship. That's a good thing to do. Just to wrap it up, 7 ways. First, we analyze and segment the market in detail. We make the market research, and we identify the players in the market who are operating in the marketplace. Second, we go in detail in our research. We use zip code analysis, we use US Bureau figures to find out the marketplace, geographic area, who are the players, what they are doing. Third, we determine our target segments, who we're gonna focus on: homeowners, architects, wholesalers, retail showrooms, design showrooms, contractors. We pick our target and decide how we're gonna sell to them. Email, through your sales force, face-to-face, or you're gonna use telephone, or you're gonna use catalog. What are you gonna use? You're gonna decide also your marketing media. Fourth step is your pricing policy. What type of pricing policy you're gonna use your customers in the different geographic area, or different pricing policies for different customers of yours. Being aware of environment, always talking to customers, watching competitors, following up publications, some business kind of industry magazines, or Wall Street Journal Business Week kind of general business publications. Keeping the communications ongoing with customers. and using the chart that I mentioned to you for to plan which media that you're gonna use and when you're gonna use it. And seventh is always getting feedback from your customers to find out how good you are doing. And if you have any questions, I can answer.
The first question is, you have mentioned that for the smaller companies not to go through larger companies' clients when they first start the business. How can those smaller companies start their business without the larger companies' clients? What is the strategy?
I was talking about the competition. That's what you were talking about? Well, small companies, what they can find is that they can find a niche market. For instance, they might want to focus on certain area. They might want to focus on, let's say, architects in Manhattan area. I'm just giving an example. Instead of selling to architects in 5 boroughs or on train state, you can narrow your market, so you can focus your corporate resources in certain market area. So basically, what happens is that when there's a larger company in the United States and operating like, let's say, 50 states, selling 50 states, they spread too thin. What happens is that there is a weakness in the leader. So the larger they go, the wider their market goes, actually the weaker they are getting. And when you make a market research, you're gonna find their weak points. What you can do when you find these weak points might be certain material or might be certain marketplace. You just need to find niche and narrow down your marketplace. That's the best thing to do. You have a second question?
The second question I was going to ask you about the Turkish companies. What kind of challenges they have and how can they?
Well, the main problem, especially in these region, there are many Turkish companies in New Jersey area. Some of them, they are really cutting the prices unnecessarily, and they're competing to each other. Actually, the market is very large. I mean, I don't see that type of fierce competition. I don't see any reason for it. But they prefer, especially when they get into the market first time, they're reducing the price. They think they can capture the market faster. They can maybe capture the market faster, but what happens is that the overhead is higher. New York is expensive, and you lower your price, you lower your profit, and how long you gonna do it? How long it's gonna take? It's not a wise thing to do. Instead of that, you can pick your customers, you can narrow down your market, and you can focus on certain materials. Let's say, instead of selling different type of materials, instead of having large quantities, you can focus on certain colors. Let's say red marble. You might have red marble polished, brushed, honed, in different sizes. So you can focus on one material, and you can increase your strength and competition level. That's just an idea. I mean, this type of things that we can try.
So rather than the price, just being more creative.
Be more creative and try to use some relationship marketing methods. Meaning, try to have a better relationship with your customers. Most of the time, they want to have new customers. They want to get new customer here, there. The thing is that keeping your certain customers, when you have certain customer portfolio, it is more profitable if you keep your customers happy and if you have them stay with you instead of getting new customers. That's the wise thing to do, I think. Okay. Another question?
How creative you can be in the natural stone business? The only way you can be creative is if you have the mosaics business, because then you can create different designs and things. But the tiles and slabs, I mean, you don't have a lot of chances to be creative because it's whatever nature gives.
See, you're talking about material-wise, product-wise. I'm talking about marketing-wise. What happens is that you can use different marketing techniques. Like one thing, I'll give you an example, simple thing. Like birthday card, for instance. Like how many times you get birthday card from your suppliers, for instance. You import from Turkey. How many times they call you, say happy birthday, for instance. Or let's say your mother. How many times they call you, say, happy Mother's Day. Or for me, happy Father's Day.
You need to become their supplier before,
Correct.
I believe, whoever is just starting and they don't have any overhead, or they have really little overhead, so they can afford to have lower prices, and this is how they get the customers. I mean, if the customer can get material A from me for 5 and there's a new supplier who offers it for free and it's the same material, I mean, the customer needs to be crazy to keep buying from me.
Well,
You can buy it from him.
It depends on
But then when the overhead is increasing, I mean, they have no choice and they're increasing the price. But
Depends on the customer, depends on your relationship. I have customers, for instance, they know I'm more expensive, but they like to work, they like doing business with me. That's the thing. Like if you give them that type of sense, that type of service, the same thing for projects. You are, let's say, working on higher level, higher quantity of projects. If they feel more comfortable with you, they'll prefer working with you because even though your price is a little higher, they know that they can work with you. They are more reliable.
only if it's little higher. If there's a big difference, I don't think so.
There's a big difference, of course. But if we are talking about wholesale, even a small margin, it means a lot. So that's what I'm saying. The important thing is establishing a relationship with the customer. That's the thing. That's what I believe in, actually. I mean, it's not easy. It's not gonna happen overnight. But you can build this, like the charge that I give you. Like thank you card. It's just thank you card. It's just simple thank you. You call them, tell them thank you. How many times you get these phone calls? How many times you get happy birthday cards? I only get once from my health insurance company. Just only once. And I'll be with you forever because that's the only company. It's such a small thing. How much does it cost? It's nothing, but it means a lot. That's the thing. These small things missing in the marketplace. It's just an example.
I'd like to ask you a question,
Sure.
if possible. While you were giving the numbers, the U.S. imports in the natural stone market, you showed us some charts from the U.S. Department of Commerce. The question is basically like, how reliable are these sources? Like, Turkey's section on the marble market is like 7.6 compared to Italy 56.9. Could some of the Turkish marble products be included in the Italian chart? Because I hear like some Turkish companies are exporting their marbles through Italy to use their name, their branding, because they don't have such branding, for instance, the Italians have, like their resources in the market. Like, do you think that's possible? And if so, like, how come the Turks like can get like more advantage in the U.S. market in terms of marketing like their own brands?
Well, that might be possible, first of all, but we don't know. And also, they also buy blocks from Turkey. For instance, there was a Levanta material coming from Turkey. But when I talk to my customers, they are asking me most of the time if that's Italian material or Turkish material. It's the queries in Turkey, but they want to make sure where it's coming from. That's an example. But if that's happening, but we don't know how much it's happening. It's kind of hard to figure out. In terms of branding, actually, my idea we were talking about this last year. My idea is that for branding, Italian materials, they have luxurious Italian brand. Meaning, whenever you talk to your customers, they think Italian materials are luxurious. Even though Turkish factories, they have the same Italian machinery, same technology, they're using the same thing. They can process the same quality, and they do. They are doing that. But even they do that, the perception of Italian materials is a luxurious material, luxurious marble. So when it's Italian, oh, that's Italian, that's better than anything. That's what they think, which is wrong, but that's the perception. So we need to play by the rules, which means when we talk about Turkey with any American, they find Turkey as an exotic country. That's interesting. What is exotic? The history is exotic, the religion is exotic, the people are exotic. There are many things that's attractive to them. So we can present our materials as exotic Turkish material. Okay, they have luxury Italian material. They have exotic Turkish stone. There's a position that we can have. For instance, I was just talking about in Izmir a couple of years ago in one of the seminars. We can position our materials as an exotic Turkish stone material, and we can keep talking about this message. All of the Turkish stone suppliers, they can keep talking about this exotic Turkish stone. And when we also increase our price, after we establish this brand, we can also make more money, all of us. That's just an idea, exotic Turkish stone. That's an idea. This type of positioning, this type of marketing ideas we need to generate, and we need to implement this in the markets.
Okay.
Welcome.
Well, the image, that Turkish manufacturers already created in the market is, Turkish materials are cheap, which is not true, and there are a lot of manufacturers manufacturers who are gonna export stones and they're not gonna making money, you know, those who are exporting travertine to Florida. I mean,
Mhm.
I believe, you know, some of them, I mean, I've been in most of all the travertine factories in Denizli, and some of them they're just surviving, you know, because of the price they're selling to.
Correct.
But,
Correct.
I mean, trying to
Mhm.
correct that image.
Correct. Price means a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
when your
because
customers
it's
see,
cheap material, and when
then they're gonna
something
ask what is
cheap
wrong
or
with the
quality,
material.
we feel that the quality is not good.
Exactly, that's right. That's what I was talking about earlier. When the material is low, the price is low. When you increase this, they're gonna think you are charging them more than you are supposed to. When it's high and when you reduce the price, they're gonna think what's wrong with this material? Why they are reducing this price? Why they are giving discount all of a sudden? This type of things. So after a while, I'm sure it's gonna change. It has to change. There is no other way. If they cannot make profit, what's the point of doing business? So that's the thing. It's gonna increase slowly. It might also affect the market share, but it doesn't matter. I mean, same thing. For instance, Dell versus HP. Right now, Dell is losing market share versus HP, but they are increasing their profit level. They don't care about market share. They care about their profitability. That's what makes sense. It's all about making money in business. And it's important.
Chart over in 2006, Travertine import. Do we know the 2005 from Mexico?
I don't have the figures with me.
Was probably lower than that. Those are the guys that are giving us a competition.
Correct. They are close.
Once
They're by the border.
price, it's not easy to put up again.
Mhm. That's correct. That's correct.
And it's the nature of all our businessmen's mentality in Turkey that if they sell cheap, it means they can get into market.
Mhm.
Because they don't know the market first.
Yeah,
They
it's
think that only way to get into market is selling cheap,
correct.
which is the laziest thing you can do.
But that's a mistake, and it's
then
called.
You basically create your own problem.
That's right. It is called actually racing to basement. You race to basement. You're going down actually when you give
It's
discount.
chasing your tail at the end.
So eventually, it's a lose-lose situation. That's nothing else.
I can see that everyone has been hurt from the factors that prices.
Mhm.
And it's really one of the major problems that I believe everyone around this table is having this problem. Every time when I walk into a customer, they said, oh, there is another Turkish supplier that is cheaper than you.
Yes, common conversation. You're right.
It happens to be just 2 minutes ago in the same store, right?
Every place. So, I don't know. I don't find a solution for this. And lowering the price to be up to them,
There's
it
no end of
won't bring
it.
it.
Every time you can ask you best. That's what it is.
Exactly.
That's real dangerous.
So how can we solve this kind of problem? I believe not only here, but
in the industry, yes.
in the industry.
Right.
Italians, they are dealing with the Travertine,
Mhm.
and you can go and check the prices, the same prices as it was in price level.
Mhm.
They didn't lower their price. Are they selling still? Yes,
Yeah.
they're still selling.
Yes.
Very good. But they are working on quality, not quantity. And that's the problem that we are facing. I'm facing every time that I'm bringing material from Turkey. It's the same problem. Although that I'm Turk, I have the same mentality. I believe that I have the same mentality, but never I cannot fight with them.
Right.
They said, so that's stone. What's that? Simple answer.
That's right. I think the best thing to do, I was thinking about picking our customers. We don't want to sell anybody. I mean, when we set the relationship with certain customers, when we really have good service, good relationship with our customers, they're gonna stay with you. I mean, if you give them really good service and if you can really have strong relationship, that's not, you cannot do this with
Yes,
everybody. But if you
I
can
agree
set
with
this,
you, but if it is, like you said, if it is in a certain percentage,
oh yes, of course.
but if you go above certain, several times I don't understand the
Uh-huh.
prices
Yeah,
that they're advertised. Even a simple advertisement when you see on the
that's right.
newspaper, it's $1.99 in Miami,
Uh-huh.
Travertine.
Yes.
$1.99 in Miami, this material. Which kind of material can it be? Everyone knows a
Correct.
little bit the market.
Mhm.
You know how much is the cost of the material.
This per square meter, right?
That's gonna be probably sold in the long run. It's not gonna sold tomorrow
Yeah.
because what's gonna happen is natural selection. Some companies that they don't know basically their prices, they're not gonna survive in the market in long term, and they're gonna go out of business. And that happened in Turkey in many different industries, including textile, included in numerous of other industries. That when the government subsidizes an industry, you see like all of a sudden out of nowhere, like mushrooms, hundreds of companies in the business. They take substation, they use their own money, whatever way, they open up a company, and then without knowing the market, without knowing the business, you start seeing these people. In the long run, they go out of business. They leave the industry. They lose a lot of money. And then once they actually stay or survive, in the long run, it will be the market's strong companies, and they are the ones that actually eventually represent the industry. Otherwise, it's not gonna go that long that much.
They are here today. They're gonna go. They cannot stay forever.
They're not gonna. But we, of course, at the same time, who's gonna survive or who's gonna be successful? I guess the ones that will survive, once they will at least stay afloat, those are the ones that will make money eventually. That's how it happened in Italy. Italians doing this business probably 100 years.
They invented the business.
They invented the business basically, you're right. They actually invented the machinery. So they actually went through this process. And unfortunately, we don't learn from others' mistakes. We always go and try to find our own way. This is Turkish mentality everywhere in the world. So we didn't take a lesson from them. We didn't use an experience from them. And now we try to find out the same exact things that they've been through 100 years ago.
But also
And
Italians, they support each other.
I
In
think,
Turkish, they don't support each other. They go against each other.
The thing is that once Turkey becomes a brand itself as a country, I think the problem will be automatically solved, because this is experienced in other sectors too, like jewelry, price, and this kind of competition. But once Turkey completes this branding issue, becomes a brand as the country, I think it will be automatically solved.
We are a granite country in Turkey. We import granite from China to put on the streets of Istanbul, streets of other major cities, because it was cheaper. In fair market, we bought it, so we lost it.
I think in this sense, the Turkish American Chamber of Commerce, I guess, is a great chance for us. And we can get all together under this roof, and we can talk about our problems as nature stone professionals, Turkish nature stone professionals, what is going on in the market, what we can do better. I mean, you mentioned the market is really large. It's not a small market, and we can all do business and make money. But I guess if we can organize some sort of marketing operations together, at least we can talk about it. When there is a leader in the market, you don't compete with it head to head. Instead of that, you do something else. You differentiate yourself. You don't compete with it. That's the thing. If you compete, you're gonna lose, because they already established. If you come up with luxurious Turkish stone, it's less likely you can be successful against Italian material, because American customers, their mindset is set already. The Italian marble is luxurious. That's it. You cannot change it. Once the mind is set, you cannot change it. Instead of that, you can go around it with different ideas, with different concepts. That's the best thing to do.
But I think once they see the quality, they realize that Turkish marble is also very nice.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. No, I'm not talking about quality has to be good, but in terms of the position.
I always give an example when I visit kings in Turkey. You're investing in the machinery, but you're not investing in people who works on the machinery.
Exactly, they put the highest technology.
If the person's judgment is not there, if that person is not educated, not necessarily school education, but education, or the ethics of the business, then that person will start putting those bad material in the good material, and it will ruin the whole product. It will maybe one case of stone is gonna cause the whole container to be rejected. And I deal with that because I deal straight with the end users. When I open up the container, if I see something is wrong with it, at that point, it's end of the story for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.